introducing a planned project. I'm here with Mr. Marc Ratner, the Vice President of Governmental Regulations for the UFC.
That's correct.
And State of Nevada Athletic Director, the entire commission for 25 years?
I was involved with about a little 22 years.
22 years. 22 years, and just what an honor and pleasure it is to have him here. We just had a chance to go out to lunch, had some good Chinese food, and just wanted to ask a couple questions, say a few things. It's very hard to get this man's time. He's all over the country, and in fact the world, now with the UFC, and just wanted to, I guess, talk a little bit about the past and the future and see where things are going. So you were hired by the UFC in 2006, is that correct?
May of '06. With the Athletic Commission for all those years, actually the executive director for 14 years, and still a big boxing fan, and but very much involved in the MMA world and the UFC, and having the time of my life.
Since then, what's been your favorite part about the entire experience?
Getting the sport regulated in different states and different countries. We've added about 20 states in the last 3 years. There was about 22 states in 2006. Now we're up to 42. There's 48 states that have an athletic commission. Alaska and Wyoming do not, so we're not going to ever go there. Working in the legislatures in New York and Wisconsin and West Virginia, so we're moving along.
And outside of course, your hometown, Las Vegas, Nevada, what's your favorite place to hold events so far?
Montreal has been fabulous. Big crowds. But wherever we go for the first time, it's really exciting. Here we are in Virginia, a sellout crowd tonight in the Patriot Center. There'll be a lot of energy, and there'll be some great fights.
Other than actually working with the UFC, you still are very active in other sports, doing a lot of refereeing and some things in high school, college level, all over the state of Nevada, and then some.
I'm a replay official for the Mountain West Conference in football. And shot clock operator for UNLV basketball for the last 20 plus years, commissioner of high school officials in the state of Nevada in the southern region. So I've got my hands in sports and been very blessed to make a living doing all these different sports things.
Yeah, you just love it. And what, other than actual boxing and UFC, of course, is your favorite sport?
College hoops.
College hoops. College hoops. In fact,
I love college hoops. I love the NCAA tournament, and it's still very exciting.
In fact, your son plays college hoops, is that correct?
My son's playing at a Division II school called Mercyhurst, transferred from James Madison here in Virginia, and paying for his education, very important, and he's scoring good and playing good, so I'm happy for him.
And so where, sports made such a transition even since 2006. Where do you see it? Where do you see it going from here? Where do you see the strengths and the weaknesses and the opportunities and some of the threats?
I believe I'm very bullish on the future of mixed martial arts. I think it will keep growing. I really believe that New York, and now we just got Massachusetts as a state. I think we'll have a show in Boston this year, hopefully New York at the end of the year. I foresee a lot of global fights, possibly the Orient, maybe Brazil, Mexico we're talking to. Certainly going back to Europe and the UK.
And as far as some of the obstacles that are in the near future that are to overcome, what would you say is the strongest hurdle?
It's always about education. It's not 1995 anymore, where there's no holds barred, anything goes, no rules. And there's still people who believe that's what the sport's about, and we have to teach them and educate them that they do have rules, unified rules, and the sport is not a violent sport. Certainly there are injuries, but we've had studies performed that show it's no more dangerous or not as dangerous as boxing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's continuing to evolve constantly and extremely fast. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it will keep on evolving, and a participant who is just a good wrestler or just a good jiu-jitsu or just a good striker has got to be able to be proficient in all aspects of the sport.
Absolutely.
And right now, that model would be an Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, B.J. Penn, who have all the different aspects, the disciplines. That's the kind of fighters you're going to see more.
Absolutely. And you see that in their fights. It's just the distance and timing is just spectacular. They make it look easy.
Absolutely.
Well, with us, RIE, respect is earned. One of the things we're working towards, of course, is becoming an asset to the industry. As far as the minor leagues that spring up all over the country, what do you see evolving in there? Do you see any opportunities? Do you see things that are actually helping the UFC scout, or are there things that could be done better? What's your kind of overview on that?
What I see is that the sport is growing in all these states, and the UFC is never going to go wherever it is more than once a year, maybe once every 18 months. So the lifeblood of the sport will be the small promoters. And yes, they'll have matches where some of these fighters will come through, and we'll become aware of them, and their goal, these fighters, are all to fight for the UFC. So but to not have small promoters, you can't grow the sport. So it's very, very much important.
And out of curiosity, what would you say is the biggest help that they've been able to give you in the sport, and what's the biggest thing you would change if you could about the way they do things?
Well, to keep the sport growing, it's important to keep having these fights in different venues and having small fights. But I don't know if I would change anything. We've got to keep educating the athletic commissions, making sure they understand, and making sure that we keep on deepening the school officials. Very, very important. And here we are in Virginia. We're going to have some local officials work tonight. And we watch them. I make notes on them. But that's how these officials get better too.
Right.
And our biggest fear is somebody gets hurt in one of these smaller events. So we have to keep training these officials. And the commission has got to know who these fighters are and really study them a little bit more instead of just okaying every match. And you don't want a guy who's 25-0 fighting a guy who's 0-3.
Right.
So that's where the injuries occur, and so that's obviously very important that the athletic commission really get to know the sport.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time, and I know you got to get going here, so just thank you for being with us, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn from you and blazing the trail, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have you get to know us.
Well, thanks, Jonathan, and best of luck to you, and I'm very appreciative that we're meeting, and yeah, you're the lifeblood of the sport, and that's what needs to be done.
That means a lot, and I really appreciate that sincerely. So,
thanks.
Thank you, sir.